Hey, welcome to part 3 of how to make a D&D World Map, a non-artist's guide. In part 1, I went over the general shape of the land as well as a few features like mountains or deserts. In part 2, I added a couple of civilizations, including 2 capitals and a few smaller ones, and we went over some naming techniques for those and different regions on your map. In part 3, we're going to be adding in roads and different transportation methods, as well as a few unique features to the map. So first, let's start by adding in some roads. So the first thing we're going to do is connect the major civilizations to each other. Now, they don't have to be connected to every single other city, but you want to be sure that there's a connection between that city and at least another city. On my map, this consisted of drawing a circle kind of around the island from different city to city. If you have 2 nearby cities that are separated by a body of water, you can still draw a path between them, and this would represent different shipping or trade routes that boats would do. Since we're mostly using the same color of pen, things are going to start to kind of blend together, and that's why the dashed line makes the roads stick out a little bit more from different features like water. When you're adding in your first roads, it can be useful to think of them as almost like interstates. These widely traveled paths going from one city to the other, these main things, there's a lot of traffic on each way. Continuing with the analogy, if the first roads we added are like interstates, the next thing we're going to do is add some smaller highways. Essentially for this, you're going to be adding in paths between paths and connecting them. Just think about where people might want to travel to when they're at different places or at different places along your interstates, if they're going to want to make a left or a right turn and head in a different direction. Those would be the paths I'm kind of talking about adding in right now. When you're adding in these paths, it's going to create kind of different fork in the road or crossroad situations. And places like this are a good opportunity to present different things to your players. This could be a small village or a trading outpost, or there could be a nearby bandit encampment that attacks different merchants and things that come through, and the players could be a target for that. Next, I'm going to be adding in a few ports as well as more shipping routes for oceanic traveling. When adding in these, I had a lot of mine to kind of follow along the coastline to get to different cities, but keep in mind that since they are on boats, they can pretty much go in any direction, so if there's a straighter shot to something, feel free to do that. Who knows what could be lurking in the deeper waters though. Which brings us to the final point that we'll be doing to this map until it goes to digital copy, is adding in sort of Easter eggs or different endgame content for your players. So one thing in particular is like sea monsters. And if you look on old maps, like just Google old-timey map, you'll probably see all sorts of different creatures, sea monsters or giant squids that kind of come up. A couple of other examples are things like shipwrecks or giant cracks in the earth or massive storms or even just straight up treasure chests or sunken cities and ruins kind of sticking up through little bits of the ocean. You could have a UFO on your map if you wanted to. The point here is to just add in a few unique to your map items, give it a little bit more character and flavor to your world. As players are looking at the map, they'll see very obviously this giant creature in the ocean, and that could come into play in different myths that NPCs tell, or maybe that's a monster that a cult is trying to worship and bring back into existence, and that could be part of the story arc. Or if it's more open exploration, the players just might want to go fight it, because fighting big things is pretty cool. Your players might not even pursue any of these special little things that you're sprinkling onto your map, but it's just kind of cool to put them on there anyway, and it really helps you make your map yours, and you can do some world building kind of as you're thinking of these type of things. That's pretty much all I got for you right now. In the next and final part of this series, we'll be taking our completed map and transferring it to digital copy. So we'll be using Photoshop, or GIMP is a free alternative, to go through the process of getting this into there and everything you have to do to get a full colorized, awesome looking map. And that's going to be a lot more in-depth and technical, but it'll be good. To read the full article on roads and transportation, go to thealpinedm.com. If you want to support the channel, consider picking up a copy of the ebook, which helps run your very first homebrew campaign. Thanks for watching.